welcome to the Property Unleashed with me, Mark Fitzgerald. It's great to have you joining me here today, and I am joined by a special guest. I always say they're special, but this is an extra special guest because this is one of my one-to-one clients who is smashing it out the park with his deal sourcing business. Welcome to the show, Ed from Copia Investments. It's great to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mark. Excited to be here.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, Ed, if you just want to let people know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Cyprus. I moved to England for university. I went to the University of Nottingham. My background is in biochemistry, so a bit of a switch up to property, but ended up moving to London with my partner. We planned to go traveling and sort of just got a last minute job at an estate agency, quite a big estate agency. Foxtons, and yeah, just sort of we were doing cold outbound calling. I found out about property sourcing, and obviously I met you at a few different networking events, the first one in Kensington, and yeah, just decided to make the jump into going full time after I signed my first client. So it's going well since I've met you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's testament to your good self getting out there and doing it. Obviously, I always say to myself, yes, it's nice to, I always look at myself as a bit of a coach on the sideline, but you guys are the players. I'll try and help and point you in the right direction, but you've got to go out there and take action. And certainly you are very, very good at taking action. So you've, of course, started down the road of deal sourcing. I know there's other strategies and things that you want to do, but it's all about, building up a bit of a client base. And of course, you've done that very quickly, haven't you? You've managed to get some clients on board who are looking for numerous property deals. And of course, I'm here to help you with that. But equally to that, you're looking at, sourcing rent-to-rent deals as well, aren't you? Which is a great, I think when you're deal sourcing, if you're looking for rent-to-rent deals and sourcing deals, you get paid a lot quicker than, of course, if you're waiting for properties to go through solicitors and potentially fall over and all of that sort of thing. So do you want to, talk us through a little bit about why you wanted to do deal sourcing? Yeah,
so I think obviously the biggest thing, just to be completely transparent, is it doesn't require much cash up front. So at the time it was the easiest strategy for me to get into. I'm sure there's ways there is ways you can get into rent to rent without using any of your own money, and you can use other people's money, but I just thought going into sourcing would be the easiest thing at the time without the capital. I'd already been building up some connections through working in property as well. So it just seemed like the smoothest transition from the job that I was doing at the time. I always knew, I wanted to go full time into my own business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And this just seemed like the easiest path to take, definitely.
Yeah. And of course, you've now had a couple of successful deals over the line, which is great. And when did you start doing deal sourcing? So when did you really start getting stuck into this?
Yeah, I started in January. I found out about it in, I think it was November or December. But rather than going into it full time straight away, I wanted to go to networking events, build up my client base, and sign my first client before I left my job and went into it first time. So full time, it was in April. I went into it. Yeah, or maybe more closer to May. But yeah, so about 2 or 3 months now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a short space of time that you've got stuck in. You've found investors looking for specific deals, and you've gone out there, you found the deals, and of course, like I say, you've got I think you've sold a rent-to-rent deal, and what was the other one?
The other one was a social housing deal between my client and then another social housing company. So
Brilliant. And of course, it's great to be able to go out there to look at all the different deals. And then it's like you yourself are now building up your investor black book, so to speak, to say, I found these specific deals. Who do they suit? Rather than just going out there trying to find deals and then trying to find somebody that the deal will suit. So, I always say as well, it's about getting out there, seeing what people want exactly. And then, of course, it makes it a lot easier for you to go and find a deal that suits their criteria. And they're going to be more inclined to buy it as well, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helps you build the relationships with agents better as well, because if you're going into the agents and, promising them the world, and you put an offer in and they accept it, and then you can't find anyone to sell the property to, it leaves a bit of bad faith with the agent. So I think if you go in, it just makes you that little bit more trustworthy. You sound like you know what you're talking about. It makes the pitch a whole lot easier, definitely.
Yeah, cool. I mean, we see a lot of people, different networking events and things, doing deal sourcing. Some are doing all right, some aren't doing that well. I mean,
Yeah.
have you tried to make yourself stand out from, a marketplace that we do see a lot of people who stand up at networking events and on social media saying I've got deals and things, but it's quite as I say, a noisy market. But how have you made yourself stand out from the rest?
Yeah, well, I think just the first thing was recognizing that it was a noisy market. There was a lot of people that weren't taking it seriously. You hear all the horror stories about people just running off with their clients' money, and all sorts of things. So I think just recognizing that in the first place and understanding how you can separate yourself from that is the key part. And then the next thing was just being honest, just being transparent about, what my experience was in property, my experience in sourcing. I was very clear that, I'd never done anything like this before, but I was willing to make the jump and go full time into it and give everything I could to my clients. And I think 9 times out of 10 people appreciate that a lot more than you talking the big game and not being able to back it up. So
no, I think that's good. I think transparency is key. When I did my first rent-to-rent deal, they said to me, how many properties you've got? I said, I haven't. I said, you're the first client that I'm working with. And I make no bones about that. But I always say the same thing. You will be extra special because you're the first client. So you're always going to have a special place in my heart, and I will always take extra care of whatever I'm doing for you. So it is about being transparent, getting yourself out there, but having that confidence in yourself. And I think a lot of people, when they're starting out in anything, it's that lack of confidence. It's that lack of saying, well, I haven't done this before, so why is anybody going to buy a deal from me or want to work with me and things? But you're quite a confident person. I can see that. But I think also people appreciate that. And of course, you can then ask them questions, because I know, some of the people that you work with, I know anyway, and I know that they're savvy investors themselves. So it's no good going out there and lying to people. It's better to be transparent and make it a win-win. So you can ask a question, I've negotiated this with the landlord, I think this is what you want. Is it what you want or not? But if you haven't got that sort of rapport with people, I think that's where a lot of the deals are going to fall over. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really difficult to build a relationship with anyone, if you're lying from the get-go, especially in business when there's money involved, emotions are high, the stakes are high, especially in property. It's a lot of money that people are putting into it. It's a lot of risk. So it really is key that you're just honest from the beginning, I think.
Yeah, and I think also having a supportive community or support around you as well, which I always say, I have mentors and coaches myself. I'm always looking to improve. You don't have to do this on your own, do you, at the end of the day? So have somebody hold you accountable, push you forward, somebody you can ask questions to. And of course, you're working with me as well on a one-to-one level. And I like to work with people over 12 months if I'm going to work with anybody. And I don't work with everybody. And I do keep it to a handful of people, a couple of handfuls of people each and every year. But what made you want to come and work with me?
Well, the first time I'd seen you, I saw you speak at Kensington Pin. And obviously, you're a great public speaker. Don't let this get to your head too much. But yeah, no, you're a great speaker. You've obviously got a lot of energy. People really trust you in the community as well, which I thought was really impressive. Even before you spoke, everyone I met at the event was speaking of you really highly. I don't know if you remember, actually. I came over to you and introduced myself just before you went up. And yeah, I mean, again, you sort of, I guess, inspired me to have that honesty and transparency. You were just really personable, really good at building rapport. And I think that really translates into the community you've built as well in your own education company. And yeah, I think it really shines through. It makes a huge difference building that community, 100%.
Definitely. I appreciate it. I do remember that as well. We were just in the aisle, weren't we? We were in everybody's way.
Yeah.
It's all about making time for people. If somebody comes and wants to speak to you and I can help them, point them in the right direction, I always will. Because I am, and I say it all the time, a massive believer in what goes around comes around. And when I started out, I used to go up to people that I looked at as successful investors. And I used to, now the one thing I never say to somebody is, can I pick your brains? Because I hate that. No, just ask me a question and I'll help you. But don't tell me you want to pick my brains, because I always think that you're just taking a mickey or whatever like that. Just ask me what do you need to know, and I'll see if I can help you or point in the right direction. But I used to do the same thing when I started out, and I used to look at successful investors and just go over and have a quick little chat with them. You know what I mean? Just get them into your network. Yeah, you're not bosom buddies, but you've introduced yourself and you just share a bit. And of course, people like that will be quite open and quite supportive. And I've always thought to myself, do you know what? If I can get myself into a position like that, that's how I want to be as well, to help and support others. So to actually have, for you to say that, it's not a big edit or anything. It's actually really quite nice. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even, we met, I think, I can't remember if it was the second or the third time at the Property Investor Media Day. And again, you were just about to speak and I came up to you beforehand and asked you a question about, a deal that I was working on at the time. And you gave me all the advice I needed for the viewing that I was going on the next day. And, we're almost about to get that deal over the line as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything goes through. And that was just information that you gave to me for free just before you were about to do your speech. So I figured if you could give me that much help, just before you were about to speak, I'm sure there's loads more in the education as well. And there is, yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I remember that as well. Being stood at the side with a microphone in my hand, thinking, or am I holding this too close to me before I go up? But
yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. If I can help you and support you, then I will. But so I mean, that's nice. And of course, you've come into my inner circle, if you like, which is a place where I like people to feel supportive. I like them to be a part of the community. Now, I know first and foremost you're deal sourcing, but of course by working with me, you get the rent training as well, and of course you get to be in the community there. And how are you finding all of that at the moment as well?
Yeah, just really, really simple to walk through, actually. It's really in depth and really in detail, but you do a really good job of making the complicated stuff seem really simple, which I've done quite a few training courses, and that's not always the case. Sometimes, it can seem like a lot's been thrown at you and it's hard to take everything in. But yeah, it's all just been really easy. I mean, there's so much support in the Facebook group that we have as well. Everyone's always really active in there. You're really active in there yourself. So anytime anybody has a question, it's answered within not even 24 hours, usually same day. So yeah, it's perfect, literally.
Good stuff. And what is the future holding for you? So, you've started down with the deal sourcing company. You're starting to build that up now. You've got 2 deals over the line. Sounds like you've got another one that's nearly there as well,
Hopefully.
Which is great in the space of, I mean, even if you say 6 months, but it's probably, since you've been doing it full time, so to speak, April, 3.5 months or something like that. I mean, that is really, really impressive. That is great stuff to say that you've sold 2 deals, that you've got another deal there. And of course, that's not what you're probably speaking and looking at plenty of other deals as well. So what are your sort of targets for the next 12 months?
It's hard to say. When I started, I was very like financially driven. So, everyone has that magic number of hitting, 10K a month. But I think something that you made clear as well is rather than having, the end target, just have the processes outlined as your goals. So I think something you really emphasize as well is systemizing the business. So, hopefully as the year progresses and as I get more deals under my belt, I can focus more on the sort of the money-making tasks, I suppose, and outsource a lot of the admin things. I'm really not very good with admin and spreadsheets and keeping on top of things like that. But yeah, really just systemizing the business and scaling it as well.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And your aspirations for the next, say, to speak 5 years. I know this is going, I don't even know what I want to do in 5 years' time because it changes all the time. But I mean, obviously, we all get into property and do different strategies for certain reasons. Most of it is, at the end of the day, we just want to build our own portfolio up, don't we? But maybe we want the cash flow so that we don't have to do the day job. We can spend more time in property and we can build our own portfolio. So I'm guessing, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the portfolio side of things, how does Ed see his portfolio going?
Yeah, I definitely like to build that on the side. I've always been really interested in business and, building a brand and, growing a company and having like a project to work on. So, a lot of people do get into property just to have their portfolio on the side and give that as a stable income, which is great. Obviously, that's one of the main reasons people do it. But I am definitely interested in the business path and really trying to see how far I can push that. Growing my portfolio alongside would be great, but I think I really just want to stabilize the income and grow the business as a first point of action before growing my own portfolio.
Very sensible. I like it. I like it. So, I mean, there's a lot, as I say, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to build, deal sourcing businesses and things like that. Let's talk about what's sort of the biggest challenges that you've come across so far.
I think the expectations of how much work it actually takes, when people sell you deal sourcing, they make it sound really easy that, finding deals, you can get 2, 3, 4, 5 a month in your first month. And it's just really not like that. It's a bit frustrating now that I've actually gone, and done it for a few months now, to hear people pitch it that way. It's definitely not simple. It's not an easy job. And I think if people were aware of that before they got into it, it would make the market for sources a lot better as well, because there wouldn't be as many people coming in, failing, doing, bad deals for their clients and then running away from it. And we wouldn't get as bad of a reputation. You meet more people that don't like deal sources than you do that do like them. So yeah, just again, honesty and transparency. Just try build it in the best way possible, the most honest way possible.
I think it's the same in the rent-to-rent sector as well. People are selling a dream, because a dream sells, and we'll get more bums on seats and people to part with their money. I've always said, and I will always say the same thing: any business that you do, any property business that you do, is hard work. To set and forget in a lot of cases isn't going to happen at the very beginning, that's for sure. And of course, deal sourcing, they do say, you can start making, 20, 30 grand within a month or so, something stupid. And it's just like, no, it takes time. You've got to build the systems in. You've got to go through the motions. Yes, you might get a deal in that time at the end of the day, but you've got to still be there for the long term as well, because it will take time, and there will be more things that go wrong at the very beginning whilst you're learning than are actually going to go right. And it does annoy me that you see the social media ads, get into deal sourcing now and replace your wage in 30 days or 90 days or anything like that. Yeah. And I get the same in rent to rent as well. And now I always say in my training program, actually, you will learn how to be a complete novice and systemize and build a rent to rent business in 90 days. I can assure you that you will have the knowledge, but you've got to get out there to get the deals as well. And of course, if you follow the roadmap and the process, you're more than likely going to be talking to people and building up and getting deals. And of course, I've had people people have got deals in 4 weeks. People have got deals in a year. It's a real mixed bag, but it's the ones that stay the course. And of course, deal sourcing is no different. I looked at deal sourcing when I started out, because I thought to myself, I like negotiations. I like getting stuck in. We all who don't like walking around properties and finding out what the problems are. That's one of the things that's always quite exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But it always put me off was the fact that it could take a while to get paid. And because I took voluntary redundancy, and I know, obviously you're not working now, you're doing this full time. It can be a little bit worrying to think to yourself, do you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm going to be getting from month to month. But of course, and that was why I basically went for the HMO market as well over the SA market, because I thought as soon as I house people into a house, I know what I'm getting each and every month, and then I can sort of sleep a bit better at night. So for yourself, obviously, April, you really started doing this full time. You've been talking to investors, you've been looking for deals and things, but you don't genuinely know what's coming in at the moment, do you?
No, not really. There's a phrase that I heard recently for it. It's like feast and famine. There's no like consistent monthly income. It's just the inputs that you put in lead to the outputs, but it's not always as consistent as people would like to think it is. But again, if you can sort of save up enough money on the side to afford to go into it full time and give yourself 2 or 3 months leeway. The way I thought about it, I was working 9-10 hour days at my old job sometimes, 6 days a week sometimes as well. If I put all that time into one singular focus, it almost seems unreasonable that you can't do well at it. I mean, of course, if you're doing deal sourcing on the side of working a full-time job 6 days a week, then it might take you a full year to get your deal. But if you're doing it full time and you can afford to do it full time because you've got the money saved up on the side, I don't see any reason why anybody can't succeed in it. Especially, London's quite a difficult market to do it in. If you're doing it up north, it's probably a fair bit easier as well.
I think, London is a different beast to the rest of the country anyway. So, if you can nail it there, then probably, chances are you can nail it pretty much anywhere. because it can be crazy. It can be absolutely crazy down there. And of course, it just feels like a smaller island than everywhere else, even though, other cities and towns are smaller than London. London still feels quite small when you're trying to do property there, because there's a lot of people there trying to do the same sort of things, isn't there?
Yeah, it seems like everyone knows everyone. I keep getting messages from people saying that they've heard my name somewhere, and I'm like, Jesus, I've only been in it for a month or so. How have you heard who I am? But I mean, it's good. It's a good thing, though. I hope anyway.
No, it's a good thing. It's always nice to get your name out there in the right manners as well. Do you know what I mean? So that you can help people and help and support them and things. And so, I mean, I suppose the worst case scenario is if you have too much of a famine, then you don't want to be, but you could always look at, I suppose, a part-time job whilst you do this, a few days a week, a few days a week. That's what I thought. I thought worst case scenario is I'll get a part-time job. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing, but if I need to do something like that, then I can do something like that. But also, I think it's about building up your pipeline as well. So you're doing quite a mixed bag with your deal sources. So you are looking and getting hold of and selling rent-to-rent deals. Also, you're looking at social housing. You're looking at properties that are out there to buy it and sell and things like that as well. And how many viewings are you sort of doing a week on average? Because the last time we had a coaching call, I think you had at least 5 viewings booked for the rest of the week, and I think we were on Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, it really just depends. Some weeks, it's 10 to 15 viewings a week. Some weeks it's a little bit quieter, maybe only 5 or 4. It really just depends, especially because in rent to rent, a lot of it is based on what the landlord wants, and how well you can pitch it to the landlords. And sometimes you will just be bumping into a lot of dead ends. So it depends, it varies, but probably on average about 7 or 8 a week, I'd say.
God, I know we went through it. You were struggling a bit, weren't you, to be able to make all of the different viewings and stuff. And we had a method to sort of try and systemize that a bit better. Has that worked?
Yeah, definitely. The CRM system, it's called Trello. I think that's been a game changer. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
there were quite a few follow-ups that I was missing out on, like completely altogether. But yeah, it helps. It makes a huge difference. What you were saying as well about having the notifications come up on your phone, just so it pings up in the morning and you know who you've got to call. That really makes a difference as well.
Well, that's it. It's just getting. I like to keep things stupid simple, just like me. I always say, because I always used to try and overcomplicate. It can't be that easy. If it's that easy, everybody would be doing it. It really is that easy. You've just got to follow through. And I think one of the things that you've said there that I'm going to go back to is, some weeks 10 to 15 viewings. Okay, some people I speak to and they're like, there's no deals out there. I can't find any deals. How many viewings you done? Well, two in a week. You having a laugh? Do you know what I mean? 10 to 15 viewings. That's a lot of traveling around. That's a lot of touching bases, but that's a lot of also shaking hands, meeting people, putting yourself out there. And of course, if you keep doing stuff like that, I know even five's a decent number to be doing, to be getting out there. And that's why people will start to recognize you, will start to know you, will start to think this guy's everywhere. And that's what I always get. They always say to me, "Oh, you're everywhere." Yeah. I'm not, but I just want you all to think I am everywhere. So I'm the guy that you think about when you've got a deal that I'm potentially going to be interested in. So, I mean, working with agents and things, how are you getting on with that? Are you finding that really hard work, or have you managed to maybe secure a few agents to sort of work with, or that contact you with potential deals and things? Because I know that's a really big sort of point when people are getting into this. It's almost like, how do we work with agents and make sure that we get in their little black book?
Yeah, so I have managed to find a couple of agents to work with that I've got on with really well. It does help when they're a tad bit younger as well. So I've definitely met, a couple of agents that we got on really well, and they do come to me or I go to them and we can chat on the phone for about 10 minutes and, just continuously build up that relationship. I think it does help me that I worked in an agency before. We were doing sometimes 70, to 110 outbound calls a day. So I've been speaking to landlords and agents for a while now over the phone, and that's easy. But also just putting yourself in a place where you feel uncomfortable. So I did a lot of walking into agents for my first 2 or 3 weeks. And it's really intimidating sometimes. You walk into an agency and there's 15 people sat down looking at you like, who's this stupid kid walking in here? Like, what does he want? But just putting yourself in those places over and over and over again, and you get more comfortable over time. And it's just a numbers game really with agents, because you'll meet some who are really rude and horrible for no reason, and some who completely won't give you the time of day. But if you can go through 10 of those for those 2 or 3 that you can build a really good relationship with, it's worth the time.
I think that's brilliant. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. And you do. People, but I mean, a lot of the time, the agents, they see a lot of us. So it's about building up to know, like, and trust. It doesn't work with everybody. Believe it or not, even I was told to F off once by an agent. It was more in line with a bit of jest, and we would laugh and joke. I laughed because I still turned up the next week, and she was like, "Oh, not you again." You took her some donuts and stuff. So I never got a deal through her. Don't know why she's doing it now. But you make a game of it. And I think that's what you're saying there, is to have the thick skin, put yourself where you're uncomfortable. And I always say, if you're going to grow anything, if you're going to build a business, if you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're not growing. And that is how we improve ourselves. That's how we learn. That's how we do things. And of course, you're looking for just a handful of agents that are potentially going to have you on speed dial to say, Ed, I've got a property coming on the market now. It's din, din, din. Is this any good to you? And of course, if you can get your own experience up there to say, no, it's not. But thanks ever so much for the phone call. Do keep following up with me, but I'm not going to waste your time. I don't have an investor at the moment that's looking for that. Or, I'm going to come straight over. Let me have a little look at that, because that's right up our street. People, again, with transparency, will respect that, won't they? And of course, it will help you. And of course, I think the background that you've had obviously helps with what you're doing now. So it's almost like a really good fit. So you've already thought about, I've worked for an agency. I sort of know, the cut and thrust of it all. People that can be grumpy. I mean, you'll have had landlords and people, vendors, I bet, all sorts ringing you with your outbound calls and stuff like that. So having that background obviously helps you. And if somebody hasn't got that background, the experience that you've got, what sort of top tips would you say that they need to do?
Yeah. So the first one that springs to mind, I mean, straight off the bat, is don't take it personally. I mean, I'm sure we've all had bad days at work where you probably didn't, handle yourself as well as you'd like to. Maybe you were a bit rude to someone over the phone or even in person sometimes. And just thinking back to those moments and realizing, it's not necessarily got anything to do with me. Maybe they're just having a bad day. And even if it is to do with me, you're not going to get on with every single person that you meet, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think just being aware of that, all the time, when you do have a bad encounter with someone, it can really just make the whole thing feel a lot more comfortable. Yeah.
And one of the biggest game changers for me was I can't control how anybody else thinks. Right? Yeah. I always used to think, I wonder what they're thinking about me. But the chances are they're not thinking anything about me. They're thinking about, what does he think about me?
Yeah.
You actually get that into your head and understand that nobody cares. And I say this all the time, nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about you, apart from us and maybe our family members or mums and stuff like that, which, that's their job. But realistically, nobody really cares. It's normally, what problem can we solve? And of course, if you're speaking to agents or you're speaking to vendors or whatever like that, and they're a bit abrupt and rude, well, maybe they're just the abrupt and rude people. You can't change that. I can't change that. That's just who they are. I tell you what, I'll try not to speak to them again. And that's it. And, it's like public speaking and things. I stand up there in a room. I put my presentation on and I talk the way that I want to talk, the way that I enjoy. And I think that people will get value from. But at the end of the day, there will be people sat there that think, oh, this is boring. I don't like this. There will be people that think this is great. And there will be people sat on the fence. I can't control it. All I can do is what I can do. And I think that's what you do very well, is by just saying, put a line through that one. Let's move on to the next one. And like you say there, which is perfect. Don't take it personally. It's just business. At the end of the day, it's just business. And somebody might have got out of bed, stabbed their toe, burnt their toast, scratched their car, and then you call them up and they give you what for. And it's not even you. It's the fact that they've not having a good day. And that's just it. Because again, you'll speak to some people, they'll come across as a bit rude and things. If you go back and speak to them again the next day, they could be absolutely lovely. But it's that they are. And you also have to remember that people are doing their jobs. Not everybody likes their jobs. I like my job. You like your job. But if you're an agent, maybe you're not enjoying your job. Maybe you've been doing it a long time. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, I need to get out of this game. And then we ring you and say, hey, I tell you what, have you got any properties? And then just go away. I don't want to know. I'm having a bad day. So I always look at it like that if I can put a smile on somebody's face, I can't make everybody smile, then I've done my bit. So that's what I always try and do, is to be nice, add a bit of value, and let's see what happens there. Just put a line through it after that. But no, that's great. That is good top tips and everything. So what have you sort of got in your pipeline then at the moment that you're going to be working on over the next month or so?
So I've just spoken to a couple more people who, one of them's actually interested in buy to let, which will be a nice breath of fresh air after doing the rent to rents. It's a lot simpler to source a buy to let. A couple people interested in HMOs, someone interested in flat conversions. So I'm more just really trying to go down that bespoke sourcing route. Sort of circling back around to what I said earlier. Trying to find the criteria before I walk into the agents or before I call the agent, so I have that point of reference to go to. So just different strategies for different people. I mean, as you well know, property is a wide game. There's loads of different things you can get into, and everyone, has different preferences on what strategies they would like to go for. So just sort of trying to diversify myself and be open to working with different types of strategies and different types of people.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That is cool. I like that. Just bear with me 2 seconds. We'll cut this bit out. I'm not sure whether my gardener's just turned up.
No worries.
Oh, no, that's all right. Cool. No worries. Thank you for that. If the door does go, though, I might just have to shoot off. Again, I'll just put my hand up, and they'll cut that out anyway because we just go quiet. Cool. So that's what you're doing over the next. And Brilliant. So I think that's great. Have a bespoken service. Just don't be, jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that's where you'll actually stand out from the crowd, because if you have that bespoken service, you're working with investors, you're finding out their criteria, what they exactly want. It does set you above what everybody else out there is doing. And I'm a massive believer in that. That's what I would have done. I do sell the odd deal on here or there, or the deals that get passed on to me, but I wouldn't say I don't go out there looking for deals. But that is what I would have done if I was looking for deals. I would sit clients down. I would say, what are you after? What do you need? And then I would see whether it fits my criteria. And sometimes they might be looking for something, and I think to myself, that's in line with a lot of the other things I'm looking for. So it's worth my while, because you've got to be conscious of A, your time, and B, what you're going to do with marketing and things, because you just don't want to splattergun things on the off chance to find potentially, let's just say for argument's sake, some rent-to-rent deals or some HMO deals that aren't in line with what you're doing. Now, obviously, they're in line with what you're doing. But again, you've still got to put a level of money out there yourself as being a deal sourcer, because the clients aren't going to want to pay. They're paying you to source a deal, aren't they? Yeah. So you've got to make sure that I think that it's sort of in line with what you're looking at and what you're already doing. And if it's not, if it's completely outside the box, I wouldn't be shy to just say, unfortunately, I'm not the guy for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
would you
exactly.
do that?
Yeah. Well, I actually had that the other day. So, I mean, even just in rent to rent as a strategy, obviously you've got serviced accommodation and you've got HMO, but they're so wildly different in how you approach it in terms of the pitch you give to the landlords, the contracts, how you rent the properties, everything. And I had someone come to me the other day about rent to serviced accommodation, and I've just not put enough effort into it to know anything about it really. So just being aware that, I can't give that client the best service that they deserve, because I don't know anything about rent to serviced accommodation at the end of the day. So even just little things like that, just being focused on HMOs. I mean, you were saying to me, the other day, just be the guy for one strategy. And that way, again, you can really diversify yourself and stand out above the crowd.
Brilliant. So you do listen. I'm only kidding. That's a joke. No. But the thing is, it is. And this was said to me early on when I was looking at building a rent-to-rent portfolio, and I'm looking at commercial conversions. I'm looking at pubs to convert into flats. And it was, I think it was really my wife that just said, Mark, she sat me down, Mark, just concentrate on one thing, nail it, and then you can go out there and do the other things. But make sure you've got, that nailed. And I think the fact that, you're going out there now, that you're not just saying yes to everybody. I want rent to, SA or whatever. Yeah. I'll try and do that. I'll try and fit this in, because like you say, if you chase two rabbits, you won't catch one. So I think you've gone the and I think that's why you're seeing success as quickly as you are seeing success as well. that you're building up your client base because you are more bespoken. You're not just trying to say yes to everybody else, and you're genuinely, are trustworthy with that, because that builds up the trust by you saying, if I said to you, Ed, go and find me this, and it wasn't in line, and you said, yeah. And how are you getting on? Well, I'm doing all right, but you're only half-heartedly having a go because you're just thinking to yourself, money, and that's what a lot of people are thinking. But if you said to me, no, unfortunately, Mark, that's not what I do. That's not the avenue that we're going down. I'd have good respect for you for that. And I just think, okay, fair enough. What is it that you actually look for? You could tell me, and I might say, well, I am actually looking for some of those as well. Do you know what I mean? Some HMOs or something like that. So I think that's really, really good to put yourself out there. And I have to say, I've been very, very impressed with your good self as well, by the way that you put yourself out there. Your work ethic is brilliant. And it's been an absolute real joy to be a part of this journey with you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot, Mark. Thank you.
That's good. That's good. So I like to do a little quick fire round. I like to ask some questions, and I like to see what people's answers and stuff like that are. So if you're all right, I'll ask you these questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. What's the best advice you've been given?
It's something that I heard recently, which sounds really simple, but you don't know what you don't know, is one thing. I mean, property is such, as we were going back to earlier, it's such a big world. There's so many different strategies you can go into, but putting yourself in places where you can be educated by people like yourself, or there's a bunch of people in the industry who are offering really good education. If you don't put yourself in those rooms, or sometimes even pay to get yourself in those rooms, you could be missing out on a really, really great opportunity. And just thinking, having that bigger perspective of investing in yourself up front will pay dividends if you take action on it. So just put yourself in as many places as possible to get the education that you need, I think, is a big one.
I think that's brilliant. I think that hits the nail on the head again. Massive believer in that. You don't have to do this alone. Why struggle? So everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people say, oh, your training costs too much. Does it really? I mean, if it actually saves you thousands of pounds in mistakes and things, or your mentorship's so expensive, but I'll try and make sure that you at least make that back in the first 6 months, if nothing else, because that's what it's all about. It's there to help and support you. And that's why I've always invested in myself, because nobody can take that away from you, can they? So I think that's a great answer. You don't know what you don't know. So if you have to go and do a part-time job, if you have the choice, what would you do?
To be fair, probably delivery driving. I was looking at doing that for a while. I guess a bit selfishly, there's actually quite a lot of money in delivery driving at the moment. I have no idea why. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, I mean, some of them are, from what I've heard, up to 17, 18 pounds an hour. So I guess that's what I'd be doing. Yeah, three days a week or so. That would cover the bills, definitely.
Definitely. So you can choose any job that you want to do, and you're going to do delivery job.
If it was part-time, the main goal is to grow the business. So anything part-time, it's not tiring. You just sit in a car all day, and doesn't take too much brain power. So I think it would be a good balance.
Check out properties that are for sale as well, can't you? Note them down. Look, there's one there. They're all down this street. Don't normally come down this street. Look at that one there.
Put a few letters and a few post boxes along the way as well. Yeah, exactly.
Deliver the parcel and a little flyer. If you choose to sell, please give me a shout.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, there you go.
Something there,
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about it that way, to be honest. But if you see me driving a big Amazon van next week,
and a bag of flyers.
Yeah.
Hey, we could be onto something there. People are going to nick that idea. Van drivers on Good stuff. So if you could sit down and have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you like to sit down and chat to?
Elon Musk would be one of them. Alex Hormozy, huge fan of Alex Hormozy, if you've heard of him, or if anyone in the audience has. The last one, I don't know. That's tough. I used to play basketball when I was younger, so maybe cliche LeBron James. Let's go for or Stephen Curry or someone like that. I used to idolize them a lot when I was younger. So yeah.
Cool. I like it. Good mixture there. Good mixture. Alex Hormozy's a popular one. He's got some good stuff to say, that guy. And of course, Elon Musk, he would be interesting, wouldn't he? What a character.
Yeah. I mean, you'd sit there for hours, I'm sure. You wouldn't even need to get a word out. You'd just be listening the whole time, wouldn't you?
Well, definitely. So have you got top 3 podcasts?
Excluding the Property Unleashed or including?
Have 4.
Okay, so number 1, Property Unleashed. So Alex Hormozy, The Game, great podcast. Just little sound clips, they're usually 10, 15 minutes long, walking on the way to the gym or on the way to a viewing or whatever. That's great. I really like Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson.
Okay.
It's really interesting as well. Really good for just mindset. He talks a lot about, the world as well, which I find really interesting, and things that are going on currently. And Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, which is probably a pretty cliche answer. I'm sure quite a few people have said that before, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason he's blowing up so big. It's because he's great at his job. So.
Exactly. His marketing is brilliant at the end of the day. And what he says and puts out there as well is very, very good. My sister, actually, she has a social media business in London. And before he was famous, he did a pitch in his business for her company to work with them.
Oh, no way.
So that's her claim to fame and everything. And I was really, really impressed with her business and things. So I keep saying to her, you need to get back in contact with that boy.
Get on a podcast.
Get him on. We'll have him on the podcast. Bless him. That'd be really, really good. Have you got a top 3 books? Now, these don't have to be property books or anything like that, but a top 3 books that have really sort of changed your way of thinking or your life, or you just think, people need to read these?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be fair, I didn't read for the last probably 8 years or so. I wasn't reading at all between uni and school and playing sports and stuff. But this year I've really got back into it. The first one that springs to mind is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's a really great book all about discipline and, discipline versus motivation and mindset. Secondly, Think and Grow Rich. I'm reading that for the second time this year. That's a really good book. And going back to Alex Hormozy, $100 Million Offers. Yeah, really great book. My partner's reading it at the moment. She's starting her own business as well. And yeah, she loves it. I've recommended it to quite a few people and everyone's had really good things to say about it. So yeah, really great book.
Brilliant. Yeah, they are good. He's got another one coming out, $100 million Leads or something like that coming out in October, I think, or something. So
I'm on the wait list for that. So.
Oh, yeah. Have you got your bonus chapter yet?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, the David Goggins one. Have you listened to it on audio?
No, I haven't actually. Is it him that reads it?
No, he don't read it, but between each chapter, he does like a podcast with the guy that does read it. And I'll tell you what, I haven't actually read the book. I've listened to the audiobook. Well, I've listened to it twice, actually. It's fascinating because he goes into more detail about, what the lad goes through and stuff like that. And what he puts himself through as well is quite unbelievable. But that is really, that is one audiobook that I would say, or one book that I would say you've definitely got to listen to it as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'll write that down. I'll give it a listen later. Yeah.
Cool. So if anybody wants to reach out to your good self who listens to this and thinks, I want to touch base with Ed. He sounds like a sound guy. What's the best way to do so?
Instagram, Ed Broad Property. My company Instagram is Invest with Copia. But I've got that linked on my main Instagram, so that should be easy enough to find. LinkedIn, Edward Broad. Same on Facebook. I'm pretty active on both of those. So yeah, just drop me a message. I'm keen to have a chat with anyone, anytime, pretty much. So
brilliant stuff. And as we wrap this one up, have you got any final thoughts that you'd like to leave us with?
No, not really. Just thank you for having me, Mark. It's been a pleasure. I'm really happy to have been on the podcast. I set this as a goal actually when we started the mentorship about a month or two ago. So yeah, just really happy to be here. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, absolute pleasure. And it's a joy to be a part of this, to be able to help and support you and, of course, push you in the right direction. And, of course, you're out there, you're smashing it. And I'm looking forward to, we'll get you back on in the future. We, get another handful of deals under your belt and stuff like that. And we can come back on and talk about how you've structured those and how you've done it, if that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. I'll write it down. My next goal. Yeah.
Next goal. Yeah. Is podcast number 2. There we go. Second edition. The update.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
Brilliant
definitely.
stuff. Well, like I say, once again, thanks a lot for coming on. It's always great. And obviously, being a part of your journey is phenomenal as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then please feel free to like it, share it, subscribe and follow. And if you want to share it on your social media platforms, please feel free to tag me or even Ed into the episode as well. And we'll show you some love, because what goes around comes around. It's all about building up the network. You make sure that you know what you want to achieve out there. And if you need a helping hand, then feel free to reach out to me and the team, and we will see if we can help and support you. Remember to have that vision, break that vision down into goals, into bite-sized chunks that you can take action on week in and week out. Go out there and smash it. I look forward to you joining me in the next episode. Bye for now.